pajamas.
That's just the bottom half.
Oh.
He was talking to them.
Nobody else is
Can't have anybody else.
What?
We can't have anybody else.
Do I need to step up?
We're at our 10 right now.
Right at 10.
I can,
Well, yeah, makes sense.
That's what I mean.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me to bounce it.
No, I'm not.
I can leave.
You're
I have no
fine.
business tonight, so it's.
I don't care.
You're muted.
I haven't seen mine yet. You're gonna have to wait for it. Oh, no.
Wear masks now.
Hey, we'll have to call the police. You guys can see doing.
We're, over to the top.
We'll sit the back so we can count.
Sure.
Sure, I'll ask. I got no problem asking.
Taking out of the health department.
Yeah, what budget? I feel like guarantee your budget's bigger than mine. Yeah.
Did everybody get one?
Hi, council. I'm not going up there, but hi, everybody.
Hello, Sheriff.
We didn't get a basic.
Hey, the commissioners, we're done in 45 minutes, see if you can be here.
So we didn't get a break to 10 o'clock since our commissioners meeting.
What did I say the number was? 78. 78. Still just one death.
Anything else?
Nothing of any importance.
Internet. I mean, so.
Make sure your probation, and I didn't make this clear, when you guys sign up, it's gonna ask for a bar number. I need to approve those.
I got my property tax in today, I come in tomorrow, pay it.
Hey, number, where that form is.
Then how do we get a payment, they can.
And Dan Bass is the kid
I think I trust them.
Okay, so they're going
I think
back.
I trust them.
And they need to select.
So if they want to send her, they'll be, what are you talking about?
They're the government, they're not to be trusted.
We'll say attorney, because that's the only, we didn't divide it into information attorney. That makes sense. But I wasn't real clear on that.
So no one can see my lips moving? Because I was gonna say, for all those that are home.
All right, Steve, I got you.
And Peggy's Daniel Elliott.
I got you. Block me out the whole camera.
Just let it as the rules here, because it's the G.
Daniel probably puts it on mute when you talk.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, when you get the old installments.
We can, after we approve the
Hey,
minutes.
if I'm gonna be an old man, I must get something out.
So, yeah, so that would be very.
Keep your distance, Jim, keep your distance.
I know.
Are you ready? You ready?
Talk about having fun today.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Morgan County Council meeting for April 6, 2020. If you'll please stand. Kim will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Vicki will follow in prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, what a difference has made. A month has made. We just pray that you be with us all as a nation and as a world. We pray that you be with those in the health field. Love them, protect them, keep them safe. Be with all the citizens throughout the world. Let this be healed. Special prayer to my friends and family, as well as other friends and family of those throughout the world. We just pray for peace. We pray for comfort. We pray for healing And all these things we pray in your precious name, as we give you thanks for your Son, Jesus Christ, this holy week. Amen.
Amen.
I'd like to welcome everybody again. A very unique meeting in the history of Morgan County Council. So I know we're being streamed live for probably the first time to my knowledge. So I'd like to welcome the worldwide audience. If you have any questions, Josh, are we the man to go to? If you want to phone in.
Yeah, can I give a little update?
Yes.
So this is for you all as well as the people who are listening through our go-to meeting. Please make sure that you speak clearly into the microphone. I say this as much to myself as any of you. For those of you who are council members in the audience, we have the wireless microphone. Please wait for it to come to you when you need to talk. And for those of you who are listening online through the go-to-meeting, if you want to speak, you can either send me a text message or text me through the GoToMeeting app, and I will make sure to let Brian know that you all have a comment to make at that time, and we can do it that way. And if anything pops up along the way, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Does everyone know what number to text you on, to be able to text you that, if they want to ask the question?
I will email them all right now.
We have minutes for the March 2nd, 2020. If you had an opportunity to read that, I'd look for a motion to approve those.
Vicky Kivett makes a motion that the minutes be approved as presented.
Have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Kim Meredith will second.
Thank you. Any comments from those at home or those here? What do you think?
He's aye, he's not against.
Okay. And Kelly?
Sorry.
Yeah. I think we'll have to pause on some votes.
Yes.
Kelly's good with the minutes? Aye. Okay. So it passes 6-0. Thank you. Before we jump into additional appropriations, I was wondering, Steve, if you'd like to come up and maybe, I'm gonna put you on the spot, I should have told you 10 minutes ago, but just give us a brief overview of what you're running into and what you may foresee the council needing to do to assist you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank those who aren't here that have been part of our phone calls. We've got probably one of the most cohesive group of department heads and people involved in this response that I've ever worked with. Everyone's been great. Everyone's been staying in their lane. And
Steve, for the members of the audience, or for the internet, I should say, that don't know you, go ahead and introduce yourself and your department and what you do.
My name is Steve Lighting. I'm the Preparedness and Response Coordinator with the Morgan County Health Department. My job is to kind of exercise the plans that we plan for this type of event and coordinate the activity among all the stakeholders. That being said, we have a 10 o'clock phone call every morning, Monday through Friday, with all the interested stakeholders, in which we discuss our statuses, plans, what's going on, what the local statistics are, and the direction we're going. It's been very, very valuable. It's been a very cohesive group. Some of the biggest problems we're running into is finding the PPE. Obviously, the state stockpiles and the federal stockpiles have dried up. And from what we did get from that, it wasn't very much. So we're kind of on our own, so we've been purchasing those. We found several suppliers that are not very conventional, but they're still working the way we need them to work. So as far as PPE goes for today, we're okay. This time by the end of the week might be a different story, but we just keep looking for those suppliers. We keep track of the number of cases we have in the county. They obviously spiked up over the weekend, and I can tell you we're at 78 positive cases, but fortunately we're only at 1 death for the entire county at this point. That being said, I will exercise any questions from you all if you have any.
The 78 positive, are they just from Morgan County sources, or if they're in a hospital in Marion County, are they reported back to Morgan County?
No, they're only what we have here in our county. Several of those are from our first responders that we had sent to Eli Lilly, and they conducted tests and reported them back to us too.
Thank you.
So if they're in Marion County, we're not hearing about them.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Steve, can you, I talked to Josh, can you put me on that call list so I can call in and hear?
Certainly, I got your email address, I can email.
Do you have it?
Yes, I did.
Thank you very much.
I will get that to you.
Please do, thank you.
Anybody else?
From my perspective as a councilman and a fireman and a business owner and a taxpayer, communication is going to be key because there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of people that need to know what's going on so they can follow what's the best recommended practice. So thank you for hosting that and communicating and trying to keep this county on top of their game. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
First up, the county auditor was going to request some money for professional services and software license fee and support.
Ryan, I'm here if you have any questions. I think I outlined in the meeting packet the reason that we're looking for another vendor for our financial practice, for our tax billing. Our current vendor is not really doing a very good job, and quite honestly, they're leaking county clients quite a bit. And so I'm thinking we need to change vendors now before it's too late.
So when we originally talked about this at budget time, we were looking in the ballpark of 40,000 for payroll. Is this the program that we originally were discussing?
No.
No.
This has, no. This, the $40,000 that was requested in the budget has no relationship to this request at all.
Okay.
But we've had a electronic timekeep module to our current payroll vendor for current system.
Okay.
And decided we do not want to continue with our current vendor, and therefore I don't intend to spend them, because I think that we don't need to spend any more money on our current vendor. We need to look for a better solution. And I allow, use the vendor as the business in many counties, for their financial and payroll vendor that I'd like to go to. My report here tonight reflects getting that transition for this year. And then the ongoing maintenance fee is going to be very comparable to what we're paying now, but I have to pay for the system software, and we can spread that over 3 years. I outlined that in my letter to you on that. So the 40,000, we can use that for this project. I sent to Deb today, what I recommended that this would be funded. The 20,000 in professional services that requested general fund. I'd like to see that you approve that, but 82,500 general fund, approve that, but under the capital development fund, where I've advertised the 82,500, reduced that to 42,500, use the 40,000 that's already budgeted to capital development.
So you want to get rid of the current vendor or the current direction that we were going when we had the meeting and go with this?
Right. Things have been changing very quickly.
Right.
this vendor. And for one thing, this vendor hasn't made any enhancements or upgrades to their system for years, other than what they absolutely have to comply with state and federal law. And also, the current vendor system is old technology. We do not have the ability to create reports on the fly. We do not have the capability to create reports or analyze the data that's in our system. But the vendor that I'm recommending that we go to, Lab, we would be able to do that. There's a database structure and whatever data that's in the financial system, be able to report on it and analyze it, however we would see fit to do. We so desperately need to change vendors for our tax and billing system. It so happens that the company that owns our financial and payroll system is the company that our tax system was sold to this last fall. And things have really deteriorated there. They were somewhat prepared to calculate our tax bills to this degree that it's just been ridiculous. We were in a position that, right, we being the auditor's office, treasurer, we were in a position where we were ready to start calculating tax bills at the very beginning of February, and just did complete getting tax bills calculated this last week. They had to install 3 different revisions, and we waited on those revisions, and it's just been ridiculous. Exoff, the company that we'd like to go to, is the company that has their assessing taxes with, and has been Exos for years for the assessing, as well as many counties. And Exoff has now developed a tax billing and collection system that they started rolling out last year. And we all took a look at it. My office, the treasurer's office, and the assessor's office. They came and gave us a demonstration. We took a look at it, and we were impressed with it. And it, once again, is also a database structured system. And it's also all of the offices, the assessor, auditor, and treasurer, would all be on the same system, and the information in the system would be the same information that's available in each office. And right now, we have to do file transfers in order to get data from the assessor to the auditor. With this system, we no longer have to do any file transfers. It would be immediately changed. Each office would only be in control of their component of the system. The assessor would still be in charge of the assessing. The auditor would be in charge of the tax billing, and the treasurer would be in charge of the collection. And it would be a seamless process here.
So Dan, not to interrupt. So have you coordinated with these other, if I hear you correctly, you've already coordinated with these other office holders on this new software platform?
Yes. I was hoping they would join in tonight, but evidently they've not. Yes, we've been working together on this. This is something we've all been working on together. The demonstration for the tax and billing was done with the assessor and the treasurer in my office, and then the review and presentation of the financial and payroll was done
to do, any of the manual operations. Their role would be to review the data posted by the auditor's office and to review it and either approve it or accept it. And once they accept it, that would complete the financial transactions.
Here it is here.
Any questions of Mr. Bassett?
And who's the old company? XCOM is the new one, right? Low, the old one?
No, Lao is we're looking at two separate vendors. For the financial payroll, we're looking at Lao. For the tax system, we're looking at Exxon. Exxon does not have a finance and payroll system. Lao does have a tax billing system, but while it would be better than what we currently have, it still would not be an integrated system because the assessor would still be on Exxon. And also, in my previous job at the state auditor, because I have some experience with Laos tax system, and it's not quite, it's not robust, and it's certainly not as dynamic and as the one that Exxon has developed. Exxon has developed a very good product.
So I guess what I'm trying to understand is are you looking at just wanting to use Exxon and not use Lao, or are you wanting to use both?
Both. Yes. Currently our system, not only up until this last fall, now both of the systems are owned by the same vendor. Now, prior to this last fall, the tax system was owned by Thomson Reuters, who had bought it from Manatron, and then Thomson Reuters, for whatever reason, decided to sell that product and sold it to Harris, who happens to be the vendor that we have for our finance and payroll. The county has had Harris finance and payroll for years. County has had the current tax system ever since the county went to computerized tax billing system, because years ago it was owned by a company named Manatron, who sold it to Thomson Reuters, and but it was still the same product. And at one time, Manatron was the big kid on the block. But over time, by the fact that other vendors were doing a better job than they are, they have continually lost county clients to the point now that really in the tax billing system out is the bigger kid on the block nowadays. But I think that is quickly going to catch him and pass him.
Looks like Kelly has a question now.
Sam, does this new payroll system with Lao offer a timekeeping software as well?
No, it doesn't, but that would be something we could take a look at to see whether or not we actually need to do that. The one thing we can do with Lao that we can't afford to do with Harris right now is that we can push this out and allow users in various offices to be able to connect to this financial and payroll system. Obviously, security, we would give them limited, they would be limited to what they could do, but the internet. But they would be able to connect to the payroll and also the finance. The reason we can do that with Lao, we hope to do that with Lao, and can't do that with Harris, is Lao has one maintenance fee, one annual maintenance fee, or one fee that they charge to the county regardless of the number of users. With Harris, each time you add another user, you pay another unit. And it's limited us to be able to push financial payroll out to the top.
Just so that I'm clear, when we were talking during the budget time this past fall, and for the payroll timekeeping system of 40,000. I thought that was give us some kind of software to get us away from paper time cards. Is that was my understanding at the time?
Well, that product, the $40,000 product was a product that owned my Harris. We would have been purchasing that from Harris, which would only work with payroll and finance. Correct.
So even if we go this route, we're gonna need additional funding to get us something, to get us a timekeeping software, to get us away from paper time cards at some point.
See, I'm not, maybe not necessarily, because we're gonna be able to give the office access to actually enter into the system.
I'm pretty sure that employees have to approve their time cards individually. That was my understanding, that you can't have just managers putting their time in for them. I would think you would have to have some employees clocking in and out type of situation. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, yes, you gotta have managers approving employees. I mean, but I mean, I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know what direction I want to go with timekeeping, but I do know I want to get away from Harris. Because their system's horrible. And there are not many players in Indiana that offer these fucking payroll.
Hey Dan, I have another question. I noticed looking through it, there was a component where it expected us to keep our own data. So is this going to be stored on our servers locally on the county, or is it being stored? Do they have some kind of cloud-based system where they're storing the data? Where's it being stored?
It would be stored on our server presently. They don't have a cloud-based.
That's fine. I was just curious. So that means we need to make sure we have a database system, or server set up with security, because the nature of some of the data that stuff.
Right.
That's fine.
That's the case currently. I mean, currently the data is all stored on our server.
Right. Is it stored in Do you know what kind of database it's stored on? Is it proprietary, or is it people server data?
I don't.
Okay, I'm getting overly technical. That's fine. I'm just curious. All right, that's fine.
I can suspect it's SQL, but I don't know that for.
I can check with Joel.
What do you mean, for the new vendor or our current vendor?
No, the current. The new one definitely is SQL Server. I looked here for this. So definitely, and that's good. That's where we should be. So
Yeah. No, I have no idea what the current is, but I can say it's not very flexible.
yeah, and that makes sense. But having on a database, on a modern database, relational database, gives us a lot more flexibility, like you mentioned. That's why the different departments need the data, especially their pieces. All right, thank you. That's what I was curious about.
Terry, any comment? Like to add to the discussion?
Well, if you insist. Terry Clown, Warren County Treasurer. We did see a presentation from Exop, and our office was very impressed with the easement of moving from like one screen to another screen, and the things that we were seeing. We were impressed with that. The fact that we would be, we would see the same thing that the auditor office is seeing and the assessor's office is seeing, and they can see what we are seeing, instead of having to run files back and forth. Them bringing files over to us saying we need to send a tax bill, or them having to send something upstairs to the assessor's office to figure out what the tax bills would be. I think it's would be a good investment for us.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, I don't think our HR director's on with us tonight. I think she had class. I would have liked to have had her input as well. But, has she given you any input on that, Josh?
Yeah, So, I mean, Doree essentially said, this product is not the HR solution, but that's fine. I mean, she's not saying that it's not the financial solution. She just wanted to make sure there was a good distinction between the two. So I would just not commingle those two, is I guess how I would summarize.
So I guess my question is there a solution that would take care of all three departments in some format? Is that an option, or is that not something we could look at that would be?
So the systems certainly exist, but that would, I mean, I wouldn't want to speak for Dan, and nor would I want to speak to Rita on those two types of systems. I mean, they do exist, but whether or not one of those products fits both of our departments' needs may or may not be true. Dan may have something to add to that.
I'm understanding this to be he's only requesting the 42.5 rather than the 82 because he has 40,000 already in his 2020 budget that was already approved, correct?
Yes. And he'd also like the 20 for professional services.
Right.
For a total of 102.5.
Right.
Well, minus the 40.
Yes.
60,000.
62.5.
If there be no further questions, I will make a motion that we approve 42,500 from Cume Cap Fund 1138 into 1,102 4443.20 software and license fee and support. I would also make a motion that we approve 20,000 from the County General Fund 1,000 into 1,102 4315.00 professional services. Vicki Kivett.
Daniel Elliott will second that motion.
So I have a motion on the floor and a second. Thank you, Daniel. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Daniel Elliott says aye.
Elliott Hall is opposed.
We have 5 yeas and 1 opposed. Next up, commissioners, COVID-19 expenses.
So there's well, I guess we'll do 2 things. First, we'll do the expenses to date. I sent you all some spreadsheets today. It's not necessarily important that you have them in front of you. I just wanted to try and make sure that we communicate throughout this process. So each of the departments that have spent money towards responses related to COVID-19, I have them broken down by department right now. In the aggregate, it's $58,486. These would not be part of your packet, they're just in an email. Yeah, late today. I can pass around what I have just for you all to take a peek while we're here. The biggest expense has come from EMS. And as you might expect, there's a lot of items related to personal protective equipment. There's a lot of items related to sanitation products, but that's what we've spent to date. And to follow up with this is our additional appropriation request, $400,000 in the COVID-19 fund item that we would like to have added to our budget. The intent is as many of these items as can be gone after for reimbursement as part of the Stafford Act. We want them all in one location so that we can more easily track all of that expense.
What checks and balances do we have within the departments that we make sure that the stuff that we're getting goes towards this and we're just not going out and purchasing things? How do we reassure the taxpayers that we're purchasing things that are needed for this particular incident, and not just going out and fulfilling something that we want.
Yeah, so, great question. And I would say that there's a couple items playing in there. One, we have strong department heads that we have a level of confidence in, and they're calling us frequently. This is one of the topics that comes up on our daily call from time to time, but also they will reach out to our department and say, hey, this is what we're thinking. Is this a good use of money, and is this something you're comfortable with? There's not a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking we want to do, especially when it gets into some of the areas where we don't understand. But there is strong communication, which is one reason we're trying to start tracking all this stuff now and sharing with the council and with the commissioners, so that if we start to see something that we say, we're spending too much here, we all know it from the start. We don't figure it out.
So they're sharing it with you, and then you're sharing it with the commissioners, and if there's a problem, you'll quickly share it with us.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's my only concern. And I have a feeling that the 100's just the beginning.
Yeah, very likely so. And Steve, I don't know if you have anything in particular you would add to that.
Well, do you need me on the mic or?
Yeah.
Well, most of our purchases we've discussed as a group, on a personal level. Anything I've purchased, I've got inventory sheets, and I have people, different funding streams, I have people sign stuff out as it's issued. So I'm certain the other agencies have done the same, but I don't think there's any surprises or anything outlandish that's been purchased. It's basically all been a group decision as to who gets it is based on the individual's supply streams.
Great.
It was very detailed, I appreciate that.
Where did the washer and dryer go?
To the EMA building, dispatch center. When we have face masks and different items that come in, they're being washed before they're given out to anyone else.
Council, if you'll notice on their agenda outline, the request from the commissioners for the 100,000 has been placed from various funding sources.
Before I bring it up to accept it, I believe, there's lots of questions about this in the past, but I believe this is I'm sorry. Thank you, I should have come down. I believe this is a real good opportunity for us to use what we've been calling our rainy day fund, and it's not because this is exactly what this is. This is a virus, and this is something that we don't have to have it on an everyday basis. So if everybody would agree, then I would like to make a motion that we grant the what is it, 100,000?
Yes.
The $100,000 for COVID expenses that's been requested in the 1,133,4390. It's for $100,000 for the commissioners.
Kim Meredith will second that motion.
And that motion is for the money to come out of the rainy day. 1186, 133, 4390.00. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion?
I have some discussion after the motion.
Okay. Kim and Daniel, you're good? Kelly, I'm sorry. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Brian?
Yes.
What fund was that taken out of?
Rainy day.
Oh, okay, I couldn't hear. Okay, thank you.
We let Paul spin out the rainy day finally.
Good point.
Yes. If I'm reading the agenda correctly, the next thing up is copiers. That too was originally requested from the commissioners.
Can you tell us about that, Josh?
Yes, I believe we spoke of this at our last meeting where we gave you guys the option. Did you want to proceed with the lease option or did you want to do the outright purchase? And if I remember correctly, you guys were, you chose the outright purchase. And so this is the additional appropriation in order to get us to that purchase price. I believe we've got a little bit of wiggle room in there to make it a nice even number for now, but that money will obviously go back from whence it came afterward.
Any discussion? Mr. Baston, I believe we talked about CUMCAP development. Do you see any problems? It's in the general fund, but it's also.
No, I know you to take that from Q Capital Development. Is that your question?
Yes.
Just if you had a preference or where you thought this should come from, based upon the balances of all our funds.
Well, I considered that this would maybe be better the general fund, only because discussed before, we tried to use the general fund for operational, and this is an ongoing with more of an operational expense rather than a one-time capital expenditure type. But this, but the Q Capital Development Fund isn't, you can legally appropriate it from Q Capital, if that's what you wish.
I don't have a problem with the general fund. I lean upon your guidance on situations like this, since you have all the account balances. Any other council members have a comment or concern? There being none, I look for a motion.
Vicki Kivett makes a motion that we approve $100,000 from the county general fund into, where's that at? I'm sorry.
1000133444600.
That's it. Commissioner's fund.
We have a joint motion on the floor. I need a second.
Paul Breaker will second.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, ladies. Any comments or concerns? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0.
I'll go aye.
Okay, I
I
apologize.
also vote aye.
Thank you.
I didn't delay long enough. It was awkward from where I was sitting. I apologize to Daniel and Kelly. Okay, so. Jail renovations.
Hello, Mr. Rogers.
Hello. This has been an ongoing project for the past 2 years now. Well, we're on the second year. Obviously with bidding, we had a tough time originally getting this project bid out for the attorney room remodel and the control room remodel. And we did get that done toward the end of last year, transferred what funds we already had budgeted in for this year. And obviously at the time that we bid this, the economy was doing very well a couple months ago, so the bids came in quite a bit more than what was anticipated originally at $261,000. So we do have some funds already allotted for this, but we are lacking $112,500 in that, above the bid that the commissioners approved, which was the low bid. $26,000 of that is also contingency money with any large project like that that's built in, so that may not get spent. It's an expensive project, but it's a small project, so there shouldn't be a lot of changes as it progresses. Happy to answer any questions you may have. And again, this is the attorney room project that's taking the old visitation area, taking out, and that's the big cost, is a security wall has to be removed to put big enough rooms in to meet state requirements. And so that's taking some additional materials that wasn't originally planned, but They didn't realize that was a security wall.
So refresh my memory again, what was the original estimate for this project?
It's been so long, Kim. It was 90, I think around 90,000 originally was the.
That's what I was thinking, under 100.
Yeah. And there's also some added cost for the architectural firm as well for more participation, especially with that security wall cost. More design features to be added, so. But there's no way to get it. We tried to keep the wall, but it's just not enough space on one side of it to get the state's approval to actually build a room out of it.
And are you confident it can be finished at this amount? I mean, we won't see another additional once it's.
It should not be, the rest of it, that was the only hiccup in the whole project, and with the fact that the economy was so low at the time it did as well, so. That contributed to the higher cost. And the other struggle with this is it is a very small project. It's a large cost, but it's small, so to get contractors to bid it is tough because it's not, I don't wanna say it's not worth their time, but there's not a lot of profit in it.
Yeah, might be now.
Yeah. So.
Any further questions? Kelly, Daniel? Comments, concerns?
I have none.
I have none.
There being none, I look for a motion.
Are we looking at the $112,500?
Yes.
Okay, then Paul Prather would like to make the motion to grant the $112,500 to 1138-135-4444.00 jail renovations. And I don't have an idea where to take that from. I think QCAP
Yes.
Yes.
what's being recommended,
Yes.
so QCAP is what I'd like to recommend it comes from.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the Cume Capital Development Fund, $112,500. Do I have a second?
Vicky Kivett makes that second.
I have a first and a second. Any further comments? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Daniel?
I say aye.
Kelly votes aye.
Motion passes 6-0. By our next meeting,
Thank
I
you.
promise the ones on the internet will have this down.
Let's hope we're all here together.
Yes.
We won't have another meeting like this.
Yes.
Hopefully we won't have to do this next time.
Let's hope. Court services?
Didn't bring your whistle?
Salt whistle.
Whistle.
I don't know if you all know that story, Francis.
Payback time.
Yep.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hopefully, you all had a chance to at least look at the policy that was in the packet for the meeting. It is an on-call policy for non-exempt employees, which in our office, we have 2 positions that are on call 24/7, one being community corrections, which would be our home detention and alcohol units, and the other would be a juvenile officer that's on call as well to deal with juvenile detention requests and juvenile crisis situations. The county, we have followed the county personnel policy handbook well, since its inception. But this issue is just something I thought that had got to the point that it was important to address prior to the development of the new county handbook, which I understand is currently in the works. The prosecutor's office in 2018 had a policy, a similar policy that I kind of mirrored this after, that was approved by both the commissioners and the council at that time. This policy essentially gives our on-call staff 1 hour of comp time per day that they're on call. Our rotation is typically a week, so In the juvenile world, we were rotated between 3 officers, and with our adult staff and community corrections, it would be 5 that would rotate. The policy also included information or language that they could be paid overtime if the monies were allocated. We are not asking, I'm not asking for any money to be allocated. It was just suggested that be in there, should that ever be the case. The policy was also run by WIS or WIS, I'm not sure what it's called, the company that's working on the county handbook, the updated county handbook, and they did give it their blessing. I don't know if anybody had any questions. It was also a board of judges. I believe Judge Foley might be
Judge Foley,
in the queue.
if you would like to speak or if anyone has any questions.
Does anybody have any questions, specific questions about the policy or the need? Our staff give up a lot when they're on call. I guess I should have said that at the beginning, but it's something that you never know when you're going to have to respond, but you have to plan accordingly, including having backup childcare and any other things you need to do.
Judge Foley, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't think so. The only thing I would add would be that the policy, I think, is intended to incorporate it into the burdens and obligations that an employee has for being on call, and to simplify the employee's process for claims and compensation, recognizing that burden. So I think it was an attempt to, is an attempt really to create more policy for the employee and recognition. When you're on call, you want to make moments of your life and be in a position that you can respond to that call. And that is a position that is unique to those employees, and that the new policy attempts to recognize that.
The commissioners have approved this as well.
Correct.
Any comments or concerns? So what do you need from us? Approval, or blessing, a selling?
Yeah.
It's going into the handbook, so
Right, so
the handbook's not been approved yet, so.
Well, I believe that they're wanting to make use of this policy starting now. They just wanted to have it in place before the new handbook.
That is correct.
So essentially, they would be asking if you all adopt it as part of our existing handbook.
Right, so it'd be effective immediately upon adoption.
And it was adopted by, or accepted by the commissioners?
Correct.
Any comments or
To
concerns?
accept the on-call policy
Daniel's willing to accept if there's no questions. I don't know what the proper verbiage would be in the form of a motion. How do we have to word this motion to approve this? Just that we approve the request on the on-call policy for exempt employees
As presented?
as presented?
Correct. It's not exempt, but yes, correct. I think it was listed in the agenda as exempt.
Okay, I'm just reading off my agenda, so
Sure.
I apologize. That's okay. Let's not get
Well,
down asking all of them, one exempt and exempt.
Daniel has a comment.
If it is acceptable, the motion I can make would be, I motion that we approve the Morgan County Court Services on-call policy for non-exempt employees. Is that sufficient for these purposes?
I believe so, yes.
Thank you, Daniel, for that motion. Do I have a second?
Kim Meredith was second.
No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Judge Ryan, thank you, Judge Foley.
Any other business?
I would like to have a discussion, and I'll be here very long, but, when we had the flood come through and the tornadoes and we came together and we got back to where we needed to be, and then we started applying for FEMA reimbursement money and such, and I imagine that we're headed that direction at some point with all of this as well. Kim and I had a discussion, who from our government body would be handling that paperwork? Has that been decided? Is there a standard go-to person in the county, or, I mean, I know.
So you've started the process of keeping track of things.
Correct.
Which is wonderful and detailed. But who kind of heads that up and gets us in line for those federal dollars?
So by default, it will be EMA. That's one of their priority functions. I believe because of the health nature of this, Steve will play a role in that as well. But those two agencies are essentially our conduit to federal funds. And the same way can be true of local municipalities. They need to work through the county EMA department in order to access their local funds.
Okay. Vicki and I had that discussion and kind of wondered how we start that process and what paperwork needs to begin and at what point. So we just didn't want to miss out on.
Yeah, that's great. Essentially, Steve's role and EMA's role for Mark Toomey, we don't know what rock stars they are until we meet them.
And Tori will do a good job up there as well. All right. Thank you.
I was wondering about moving our May meeting from Wednesday the 6th back to the traditional Monday night meeting the 4th, since we only moved it for an election that's no longer being held on the 5th.
Good point.
Likewise, I'd like to move that back, but we should probably move the June 1st meeting to at least the 3rd, for the same reason we did for Stephanie in the election office had originally moved to May.
Right, with those dates. Yes, I agree. Does that need to come in a more?
What's the date?
I'm gonna take the May meeting that's scheduled right now from the 6th back to the 4th, which is the first Monday of May.
Okay.
And the June meeting that was scheduled for the 1st, move it to the 3rd. So if we're blessed enough to have machines in here, we won't be in their way that Monday night before.
Okay. That work for everybody?
Is it, everybody? Kelly, Daniel, any comments, concerns?
I think that's wise. I think that I agree with that.
I will. Vicki Kivett makes that in a form of a motion that we move the May 6th set council date back to Monday, May 4th, and the June 1st set council date to June 3rd.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Kim Meredith will second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes 6-0. Any other business to come before this board?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Paul, thank you. I'll vote as my second.
I want to wake up.
Mr. Prater, you have the documents up here to sign.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank everybody from the Worldwide Web for joining us. Can we start doing this all the time? I mean, don't you think we should?
What?
I think we should do this all the time. Capture it to the web. And then if my mom and dad want to watch it from home, they can watch it from home.
I think it's a good idea too, Brian.